I'm Amanda Skelton, an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and today I'd like to show you how to make this card. This is a really nice 3D card and it folds flat. This little flap comes up here and it folds down flat like that, so it goes into an envelope. So that measures 5 by 7, so you need a 5 by 7 envelope, but it's a really nice card, really good masculine card. This is using the Trusty Tools bundle, so I've got the stamp set here. I'm going to mostly be using, in fact completely be using the just the dies on this one, because I just love the detail of it all. So there is such a good selection of tools in here, and you've got like a little handle and like a little box here that you can do like a little toolbox. This is brilliant for the pegboard, and then obviously all the different elements to make the actual tools. So I just love it. I think it's just such a good masculine card set. So I'm going to do it in a slightly different colour. I'm going to do it in blue and grey, navy blue, the night of navy, just to do a different colourway. I use this piece as a piece of DSP, which was free in the catalogue for the celebration, but that's over now, so I'm going to show you a slightly different way of doing this with the blue colourway. So yes, mostly going to be die cutting, and then obviously showing you how to make this mechanism. Now this mechanism, or this type of card, it's like a workbench card. Now this is a tool workbench. You could also use it as like a dressing table, and you could like add like lipsticks and perfumes and mirrors and things like that, so that could be a mirror at the back. You could also do it as like a gardening workbench with pots and packets of seeds and things like that. So this could be used for lots of different themes, but so the important thing is that to show you the actual mechanism, and then you can add the detail as you want to. Okay, so what do we need? We need a piece of smoky slate cardstock, and that measures 10 inches by 5 inches, and then you want to score that at 1 3/4 inch, 3 1/4 inch, 6 3/4 inch, and 8 1/4 inch. Okay, so that's going to become this section here. Okay. Then we want a night of navy blue piece of card, and that wants to measure 7 inches by 3 1/2 inches. Now what you want to do is measure up 2 inches from the bottom, and then you want to cut out this corner here, and that is 1 1/4 inches in. So you want to score this line here at 2 inches, and then you want to measure down 1 3/4 inch, and you want to cut down and join that line, and you want to turn it around again, cutting from that side 1 3/4 inch down to 1 1/4 inches down to this line, and that's going to become our workbench section. Then we want a piece of smoky slate again, and this is going to measure 4 1/2 inches by 2 inches, and you want to score at 1/2 inch and at 4 inches, so you've got 1/2 inch either side. So if I turn this around, this is going to become this support here, so that when you put your bench down, it doesn't go into nothing. It's got a nice little support there, so that's what that's going to become. I've got a piece of silver card here, which is 3 1/2 inches by 1 1/2 inches. That's going to become our worktop. If you've got an embossing folder which has like the little crosses on to make it look like a tire track type thing, or like a workbench, then that would work really well with that as well. And then we want some crumb cake card, and you want one piece to measure 3 1/4 inches by 2 3/8 inch, and then you want two pieces that measure 1 1/4 inch by 2 3/8 inch. So they'll be the same height as that, but they're not as wide, obviously. Okay, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to add pieces on here to make it look like drawers on the front. So I've got some silver card, and that measures 3 1/2 inches by 1/4 inch, and you want two of those. And then I've just got some links here which are going to become our little straps here to make our so that our tools are sort of hung on those. So I've got 3 of those. I've got a thicker one here. What does that measure? That measures 1.5 inches by 1/4 inch, and then the others are similar, I think, so just over 1 inch and probably about just over 1/8 inch. So you want 2 of those as well. Okay, you want some extra silver card and some extra coloured card. So I've done this one in black, but I'm going to do this in navy. So some extra navy card, or whichever colour way you want to do. And then you want some here as well. So there's some little nuts and bolts here as well, or screws and things. So that's quite a nice little detail to have here. Now I've added a sentiment on here. I'm not going to add a sentiment onto this one because I don't know who I'm going to give it to yet, but this one is definitely going to go to my dad for Father's Day. So I've added on a Happy Father's Day, which again is from this set here, so I've added that one on for this one. Okay, so let's start constructing. So get your biggest piece of card. So what you want to do is fold. So you've got 2 score lines either side. You want to score in the furthest score line inwards, and then the second score line outwards. And then do the same other side. Fold it inwards, and then fold it outwards. And that becomes your main section here. Okay. So then we're going to have our blue piece here. So you've got your score line here, which is at 2 inches up. So you can just fold that across, and then you can see that that is going to become our section here. Okay, so before we add that, what we'll do is we'll add our silver card onto it as well. So we'll do that before we fold it and put it in place. So I'd use liquid glue because then you can move it around, make sure it goes where it needs to go. So is that going to work? No, that's not going to work. The tutorial that I saw had a piece of, wasn't as thick as card as this, it was almost like silver paper, and they had it coming over the edge a little bit so that you had like a little edge, but because I used card, it's so thick it doesn't bend very well at 90 degrees like that, and the backing just came away from the top. This isn't, by the way, this isn't Stampin' Up foil, so still Stampin' Ups might well be a lot better. Why am I failing with the glue today? Alright, let's try this one a bit more. When it comes out, it's going to come out completely, isn't it? No, hang on a minute, I'm going to get another one. Right, this feels better. This is a newer one for sure. There you go. So make sure you get along the edges so that they all stick down. Okay, and then you want to offer that up to your card. You want to make sure it doesn't go over this front edge. So make sure that it doesn't matter if it overlaps a little bit because you're not going to see that. But you want to make sure that you've obviously got it over your blue card and that it will still bend with a nice 90-degree angle. Okay, so give that a good push down. And then we'll let that. So I'm going to keep it at that angle so it doesn't have to push against it. And then we're just going to let that dry because it's liquid glue. It'll take a little bit of time. So while that's drying, and then what I'm doing is I'm just looking to make sure it looks okay there. So just make sure that front edge is really nice and pushed down so that when it folds, it doesn't come apart. Okay, so the next thing we'll do then is the support under here. So if I can just show you there. So there's a little support there. So you've got two scored edges, so you can just fold those in, and that effectively is going to, let's have a look, effectively go like that. Okay, so that's going to become that little detail there to be that support. So what you want to do is you want to put glue on this edge here. Have I just chosen the wrong one again? I have, haven't I? There you go. Okay, so some glue on that one. You're not going to see this under here, so you don't have to worry too much. But you want to make sure it's level with the bottom, and you want to push that edge into this crease. Make sure it's nice and flat across the bottom. And then what you're going to do is fold that on top of it. So it's all nice and flat, it's in there. Oh, in there really nice and tight. Okay, and just give that a good push down and wait for that to adhere. Okay, so then that's going to become that there. So you can give it, once it's in place, you can give it a good old push down. Okay. So then we want to do the same with the other side. Now, I would, if I was you, I'd give that just a little bit more time just to dry. So now we can do the same on this side. And then again, fold that down on top of that. Nowhere near enough time. Okay, give that a good push. And what you want to do is make sure that when that's all flat, or when it's all sort of in place, that it's all nice and flat, because that's how it's going to fold. When that's up, that's how it's going to fold. So you don't want that to be bulky, otherwise it's not going to fold flat. Okay, so if you do it that way, then you know it's definitely going to fold flat. Okay, so I'm just going to let that dry for a minute like that. So that hopefully is probably dry now, which is looking good. Okay, so what we can do now is start doing some of our detail. So let me just move that out of the way. So we want to do these pegboards, and so we have this pegboard die here. We want the wrench. Actually, it's not a wrench, is it? It's a spanner. We want the full hammer, and then we want the top bit of the hammer, because that's going to be the silver bit we're going to cut out. So we'll cut a whole one out in the coloured card, and then we'll add the silver on top. And then we want the drill. So that's the main part of the drill that we're doing the colour. And then we want the drill bit. So I already have got these, but there is this little die here, which has got the two, the screw and the two bolts or nuts on it. So you can do that as well. But I've already got those pre-cut from another project. Okay, so first thing then we'll do is, let's put those over here so we don't lose them. Get your die machine. Okay, so I'm going to take the large piece. I'll take the large piece first. Okay, so what I found easier to do is, because it's not the full size of this, you want to make sure that you haven't got your holes at the edges, otherwise it's going to be like a little funny little cutouts. So you want to centre it so that it's off the edges. I don't know if you can just see that. So it's slightly off the edges, but it's centered between these two rows here. Okay, so if you want to, you can actually put it in the die cutting machine that way. And if you do that, just be aware of your cutting plates. If you're only using one, if you want one to stay clean, you might want to turn your plates across. Okay, oh, so I'm actually going to do it that way, so I can see that that's slightly off the edges and it's about halfway between those. So that looks good to me. Put that down gently. Okay, and there we have it. We have that all. So this die can be a bit of a pain when it comes to trying to get all the things out. So hopefully if you've got a tool that can use to brush all of those out, then you can use that. If not, you can use your pokey tool. So where are we? So we've got one there, one there, one there, one there. Oh, more there, look, one there, one there. Just one on the side there. There you go. Okay, and we need to clear it up because we're going to be using it again for the next piece. So you can get rid of all your pieces, otherwise that's going to make it have a dent in the piece of card you're about to put on top of it. So make sure you get all of the excess cut out pieces. There we go. So I'm going to do a similar thing. I'm going to actually turn this upside down, and I'm going to do exactly what I just said just now. So I'm going to turn it that way up so that I can see that I am putting that in place. So I'm going to put that there, and that one there. Just helps you to see it a bit easier. And then gently place down your top board, your plate. Yes, I turn my plates over so that I'm only getting the same plate cut. Okay, so I'm not going to bother cleaning that one while you're watching. But there we go, we've got our two smaller pegboards. Very close to the edge there, but I think you can just about get away with that. So again, clear off your boards. Right, so that's my dirty plates, that's going on the bottom. So now we can do our other pieces. So we're going to do the whole of the hammer. You can see I've used this before, can't you? And we're going to do the drill as well. So I'm going to put them both at the same time. But just make sure, like I always say, just make sure they don't touch, otherwise they might break each other. Oh, dropsy today. Okay. Now I don't know if you can see the detail. It hasn't just cut it, but it's actually scored some other pieces as well, which is quite nice. And there's a little bit of a detail on that one as well, but that is really, really nice. Okay, so now get your silver, and we want to cut the spanner, and we want the head of the what's it called? The head of the, I'll do it that way. The head of the hammer head. I should really get that, really, shouldn't I? And then the drill bit. Right, so there we have those three pieces already. So I think that's it for now with the die machine. Okay, so let's come back to our base. So we've got all our pieces. So this should now be nice and stuck, which is nice. Okay, so what we can do now is what I'd probably do now actually is put these pieces on while this is flat. Be a lot easier to do this, and I'm just going to place those two centered with the top and make it look like a couple of drawers. I think it's snap-on, isn't it, that's like silver and red, which is the traditional colours, but it looks quite nice to have like silver drawers on it. just to give it some detail. So I'm going to roughly put that. Is that straight? Not quite. I think that's a bit better. And again, I'm using liquid glue so that you've got a bit of manoeuvrability. Otherwise, if you don't get it quite right, you're stuck. I'm just going to centre that with the other piece. Make sure it's straight. That looks about right there. Okay, just give that a good push down. Okay, so what we can do next then is this is going to be the piece in here. So what you can do if you want to is we're only going to be wanting to put glue on this section here. If you want to, you can line it up at the bottom and at the edge. You can use a pencil. You can just put a pencil line across there just to make sure that you don't put glue higher than you need to. Okay, so I now know where I want to put my glue. So do one at a time. Okay, so what you want to do is again fold it flat like this. Okay, and then you want to get your left side and nice and flat so you can see how it goes across to the other side. Okay, you want to make sure that that is nicely within that gap. Okay, and again you want to make sure that it folds nice and flat. That's why we're making it up when it's flat. Just make sure that that's just inside this fold here so that it will fit into this the aperture. It's not the end of the world. We can always snip a little bit off if you find that it's slightly offset. So it's not the end of the world. Okay, but then what you can do once you've done that is put some glue on this side. Maybe it would have been easier to have done glue both sides at the same time. It would have done. In fact, I think that's what I did when I did it the first time, to be fair. Okay, and again, fold it nice and flat. Give it a good push. Okay, again, you want to make sure that this silver is just inside this line here, which it should be. If it's lining up the edges, it should be. Okay, so then you should then be able to bring that back square and then just put your little thing down. So what I'd probably do is just leave that out here a bit more, take the pressure off it, so just let that dry off a little bit more. It's under a little bit of strain if you do that, so let that dry. Right, so the next thing we can do is we can put our tools together. So we don't need to do anything with the spanner. We do need to do something with the hammer and the drill. So for the drill, all you want to do is put a little bit of glue on the back side of the edge. Obviously it's going to go that way, so you just want to overlap that a little bit with the glue. Give it a good press. So that's the drill bit, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put this head over the blue. Okay, so again we'll put some liquid glue on here. Okay, go and just put that into place so you don't see the blue behind it. So I'm quite happy with that. Let that dry a little bit. Okay, so now we can start to dress up. So we want to put our pegboard in the back. Again, I would suggest you use liquid glue. It is quite fiddly because you've got to go between all the dots, but you can put lines across. Oops. A little bit more there. Okay. And then you want to place that in there. You want to just centre it as much as you can. So I'm going to hold it this way so I can see what I'm doing. I just need to get my head in there. That looks straight. No, nowhere near. Oh, that was a bit much. Right, that looks better. So just give that, once you're happy that it's in place, give it a good press down. Then you want to do the same for your other two pieces. Again, you want to try and keep them centred, or make sure you've got all your holes out as well. Make sure it's centred on your panels. So again, I'm just going to put glue down the lines. And these go this way up. So I'm just going to hold it up just so I can just try and line it up a bit. That looks about right. And then the third piece. Again, I'm just trying to hold it up so I can try and level it. That's about right. Right, so just give it all a good press down. Okay, so that's your main part. So then you can start adorning it. So I'm just going to use tape here just because it's a bit quicker, but you can use either. So on the back edge of the drill, I'm just going to put that about centered on the back wall. And I'm just going to use this thicker piece of card, silver card, to go as a strap, as if it's being kept up on the wall. Like that. And then I'm going to put the hammer one side. Oh, I didn't feel like it was stuck very well. The hammer one side, and the I keep getting it wrong, don't I? I want to say wrench. It's not a wrench. Right, so I'm going to put that about there. Spanner. And then the hammer, I'm going to make it the same height at the top and then just let it come down further. Like that. And then I've got these two smaller straps I'm going to then add on. Again, I'm going to put them about there. And about there. If you press down the sides, and it sort of brings it around into a little bit of a loop. Okay, so the last thing then, I've got these little screws. I've got some in silver, some in black. So just to make it look like there's a something going on in progress, then I'm going to do tape glue. The reason why is because liquid glue on silver, if you move it around, it really makes a horrible mess. So I'm just going to put a little bit, tiny bit of tape on, which should be enough to keep it in place. And then wherever it drops, that is where it's going to go. So I'm just doing a mix of the screws and the nuts here. Oh, can't get off my finger. Doesn't really matter where they go. They can overlap each other just to make it look a bit random, like it's just been scattered. If it's anything like my crafting space, then it would definitely be a right jumbled up mess. Alright, the last one. Okay, so there we have it. A workbench style card. Like I said, I've done it with the Night of Navy and the Smoky Slate. I've not put a sentiment on, but as you can see, you can put a sentiment on if you want to. You can put a panel on the back to write your wishes, but it's then it'll open up and it folds flat for going in the post. Either way, you can do it. But then it folds up nicely to become a little workbench. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. It's a really good type of card to make. It's not too complex. So it might take a little bit, you can add as much detail as you want. I think I might try and make this with like, to make it like a little dressing table with like perfume bottles and things on, which I think would be quite nice from a retired set I've got. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, you can find my details at amandascraftedcards.stampingup.net to find the products. And it is the Trusty Tools bundle. Like I said, it's just going to be so good for doing mail cards. I'm on Pinterest and YouTube as Amanda's Crafted Cards. Drop me a line if you want to, and I hope you enjoy making the project, and I hope you can manage to recreate it and follow the instructions. Take care. Bye bye.